we had talked not long ago about inauguration funds, corporate donors to those, and trying to get an idea of, with Joe Biden, how might it compare to the sorts of massive amounts of money that was raised for the Trump inauguration fund. And you've got some recent reporting on at least one major contributor that's been identified.
We did, so we confirmed with Boeing, the aerospace giant and defense contractor, that they are gonna give $1 million to Joe Biden's inauguration. So it's important to note here that Joe Biden made a big decision. Joe Biden decided to take contributions for his 2021 inauguration, which was something that Donald Trump did in 2017, take corporate money, and that Barack Obama did in 2013 for his second inauguration. However, Barack Obama and Joe Biden, of course, as vice president back in 2009, didn't take corporate contribution, and in fact had some pretty strict and severe limits on the money coming in for their inauguration fund back in 2009 for their first inauguration. And that was really because they felt at that time that they didn't want special interest money, they didn't want corporate cash, they wanted this to truly be an inauguration that was devoid and free from that kind of financing. But over the past 3 inaugurations, we've seen presidents get away from that. And Joe Biden said, hey, any corporation who wants to give me up to $1 million for my inauguration, I will take that money. That's where he stands right now.
And just to be clear for people who don't necessarily know, so in terms of direct contributions to politicians, there are limits that are far lower than $1 million, but this is apparently an area where if he wanted to, he could have accepted far more than that.
So all the rules that you know that apply to campaign contributions to a presidential campaign, those don't apply for inaugurations. Inaugurations are very much a free-for-all. Corporate money, union money, special interest money, trade groups, individuals. If a presidential candidate who is now being inaugurated president wants to take any or all of the above of that kind of money, they have the ability to do so. And when it comes to disclosing the money after the fact too, the rules are very different as well. So for example, they're gonna have to, Joe Biden that is, disclose about 90 days after the inauguration who gave them money, but they're not gonna have to disclose how they even spent that money. And that, of course, is a huge question here in 2021, John, given the fact that COVID-19 is going to loom over all of the proceedings. We don't exactly know, and I don't think really the Biden inauguration, based on what they've told us and what they've said publicly so far, knows all the details as to whether they're going to have the breakfasts and lunches and dinners and brunches and balls and all of the trappings of a standard inauguration. That's likely going to be crunched down to a major degree, but at the same time too, all that money that's flowing in the door, they're still taking it anyways. There's going to be something that happens on inauguration. There's going to be a lot of corporate money funding it ostensibly, and that's something that remains to be seen exactly how it's going to shake out in full.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're doing this reporting and getting people to focus on this, because it seems very odd that our country, to an increasing degree, seems to understand that political money could hypothetically sway a politician. And we've apparently decided that, not for this one. That won't have any effect on them. Oh no, you can also hide how much, and that's not gonna have any sort of effect. It's bizarre. And so glad that you're doing this. With Boeing in particular, like that's the one we have. So if one was worried that Boeing might be doing this to gain some sort of political influence, and I'm assuming that Boeing has probably contributed to every single inauguration going back literally decades that they were capable of. Do they have any sort of pending business before the government? Anything that when Biden comes in is going to be a concern?
So Boeing, first of all, to just get it on the record, has in fact given to the Trump 2017 inaugural and the Obama 2013 inaugural. So this is not new for them, absolutely. We've also reached out to about 60 different companies and counting at this point to put the question to them as to whether they are gonna give. And we can tell you that Ford, for example, Bank of America, and Aflac are among the companies that told us that they intend to give, even if they haven't 100% confirmed it. There are many others who are likely going to give and just haven't said so at this point. Yeah, Aflac, yeah, So maybe the duck will show up to the inauguration, who knows? But regardless, I mean, we definitely have a situation every inauguration where there are corporate contributions like that, where hey, Boeing, I mean, the Max or the 737 Max aircraft that had the 2 fatal crashes that had been sidelined for almost 2 years. I mean, this is a huge, massive issue for Boeing. Boeing has defense contracts up the wazoo. You add that all together, we are talking about hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars, probably even into the billions of dollars that are tied up with decisions that the government will make that will either affect positively or negatively a company like Boeing. We're picking on Boeing because Boeing has confirmed that they are going to give a donation, but the same thing holds true for corporations all across the board. They're not participating because just strictly out of altruism, although many will say, hey, we find this to be a civic duty. This is a huge every 4 years event. We want to participate, but it's not going to hurt them any to sure have $1 million in front of the next president or the incoming president of the United States. And also to have the access that comes with making a donation like that, tickets to all the events, an opportunity to speak potentially with the president of the United States or the vice president or the families or the incoming cabinet. I mean, this is as swampy as it gets every inauguration, even though this is a huge, big American event that everyone is going to watch and whatnot. I mean, the influence peddling here is alive and well every 4 years when we have an inauguration.
Yes, and I assume for most viewers, pretty obvious this civic duty you gave to Trump, okay? Let's stop talking about the civic duty, Boeing. Anyway, great reporting here, Dave, on both of these topics. And by the way, anybody watching this, you can go to Business Insider, you can read these write-ups, which have a lot more information. By the way, go for this one about the inauguration, because you'll want to see some of the statements that were made by the Obama team before the first inauguration. It makes the donations that were accepted the second one just an amazing sort of crystallization of the arc of the 2 terms of Obama. I just love that little bit. But anyway, as always, Dave, excellent work, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.